seemingly at the center of the FBI's political corruption investigation that raided the mayor of Oakland's home last week. Now, it's getting more interesting.
America, check this out. A California councilman just received a federal targeted letter threatening him with 30 years in prison for helping a Vietnamese cartel family run a massive shipping container housing scam. But here's the part that'll blow your mind. This is the same corruption network that already took down Oakland's mayor, and it involves lavish trips to Vietnam, karaoke parties with $300 bottles of whiskey, and a family-run criminal enterprise that bought off politicians across multiple Bay Area cities.
Only on ABC 7 News, this San Leandro City Council member describes what the FBI wanted when they raided his home 3 months ago. Now, he's worried about being arrested.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Most people think political corruption is about briefcases full of cash and dark parking garages. But what the FBI exposed in the Bay Area proves that modern corruption looks more like luxury vacations, golden karaoke machines, and shipping containers sold as affordable housing for 10 times their actual value. In this video, I'm breaking down the explosive target letter, the Vietnam Cartel family at the center of it all, and how they turned Bay Area politics into their own personal ATM machine. Let me break down this federal target letter that just dropped because it's absolutely devastating. On May 12, 2025, the acting U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California sent San Leandro City Councilman Brian Azevedo a letter informing him he's under federal investigation for 3 major charges.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has outlined criminal charges against a San Leandro City Council member in a letter obtained by the ABC 7 News I-team.
The first charge, conspiracy to commit bribery. Second, bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. Third, making false statements in a federal investigation. Each of these charges carries up to 10 years in prison and $250,000 in fines, meaning Azevedo is looking at potentially 30 years behind bars. But here's what makes this target letter so significant. The feds gave Azevedo until May 30th to contact their office, suggesting that they might be open to resolving this matter in some type of indictment if he decides to cooperate. That's prosecutors speak for flip on your biggest fish or we'll come in after you.
The DOJ gave Azevedo until May 30th to find a lawyer and contact the office, or the matter will proceed in the ordinary course of prosecution.
Former federal prosecutor Wilson Lee Young explains what this means.
This could go either way. Obviously, the U.S. Attorney's Office feels like there are viable charges here, and they want to attract the attention of the recipient to resolve this case somehow, either with some sort of guilty plea or some sort of guilty plea and cooperation.
When Azevedo was interviewing 3 months ago after the FBI raid on his house, he was already counting the days until his potential indictment, showing he knew that something was coming. Now let's talk about the criminal organization at the center of the scandal, the Duong family. David and Andy Duong own California Waste Solutions, which has recycling contracts in Oakland and San Jose. But that's just their legitimate front business.
The Duong family that owns California Waste Solutions, recycling contractor for the cities of Oakland and San Jose, also had a side business called Evolutionary Homes. They tried to sell shipping containers converted to housing for the homeless to local governments for $300,000 each.
The real money maker is Evolutionary Homes, a company that converted shipping containers into housing units and tried to sell them to local governments for $300,000 a piece. Think about that, $300,000 for a converted shipping container that probably cost $50,000 to build. But here's how they seal deals. They entertain city officials with karaoke and $300 bottles of whiskey at their Bayside headquarters in Oakland. Andy Duong posted videos on his Instagram showing political parties with them while he pitched their overpriced container scam.
They entertained city officials with karaoke and $300 bottles of whiskey, as this video shows from January of last year, posted on Instagram by Andy Duong. He is now charged with bribery, conspiracy, mail and wire fraud, and false statements.
This wasn't just business entertainment. This was a systematic bribery operation. The Duongs funded the Vietnamese American Business Association and used it to fund lavish trips to Vietnam for politicians, including Brian Azevedo, who received $6,400 as a quote-unquote gift for a 12-day trip. Here's how the Duong family tried to cash in on their political investments. They pushed San Leandro to pass an emergency homeless declaration that would allow the city to buy container housing units from Evolutionary Homes without getting any competitive bids.
Leandro's former city manager tells me Azevedo arranged for her to tour the Evolutionary Home showroom, and that during that visit, the Duongs pushed for this emergency homeless declaration. It would allow the city to buy units from Evolutionary Homes.
Think about the audacity here. They wanted to use a homeless emergency to bypass competitive bidding. They could sell these $300,000 shipping containers without any competition. This is exactly how government corruption works. Create a crisis, then profit from the solution. We've seen that many a times. Fortunately, San Leandro City Council saw through this scam and they voted to kill the emergency declaration. But Azevedo tried to save it with his no vote, showing exactly whose interests he was representing.
Maybe I don't. No, maybe I'm a little naive on some things. You know?
The emergency homeless declaration met resistance from the San Leandro City Council and mayor.
There was a number of us who did not understand why we needed to pass an emergency declaration.
The council voted to kill the declaration.
Councilmember Azevedo, no.
With his no vote, Azevedo tried in vain to save it.
Meanwhile, in Oakland, the scheme was more successful. The indictment shows that former mayor Sang Tao promised to purchase 100 units from Evolutionary Homes in exchange for a $300,000 no-show job for her partner, Andre Jones. The fact that these containers were marked as affordable housing while costing more than actual housing shows the complete cynicism of this operation. The FBI raided Azevedo's home on January 15, 2025. Just 2 days before they arrested the Duong family and Sang Tao. 18 FBI agents showed up at 6 a.m. and searched his house, seized his cell phones, laptops, and iPads.
A source with knowledge of the FBI investigation tells me agents are checking if Brian Azevedo had any sort of financial agreement with the Duongs to sell Evolutionary Homes to the city of San Leandro.
But here's what shows Azevedo's guilt. He's been counting the days since the raid, trying to predict when he'll be indicted. He calculated that Sang Tao was indicted 210 days after her house was raided. And he's been tracking his own timeline.
He counted the days between the FBI raid at Sang Tao's house and when she was indicted.
So about 210 days, and they shouldn't have as much stuff on me as, because I didn't do nothing. So
You're counting the days.
yeah,
You are actually, huh?
yeah, because I don't know what's going on.
When asked about his financial arrangements with the Duongs, Azevedo responded,
I don't remember nothing. No.
For you to say, I don't remember, is not going to look good for people. I mean,
Azevedo's response was telling. I don't remember nothing. But when pressed, that saying, I don't remember, wouldn't look good. He changed his answer to,
me as
Yeah,
a
I
person.
don't want to comment on that because no, there was no arrangement on that.
there was no arrangement on that. The most damning evidence might be his own behavior. A member of San Leandro City Council says Azevedo has not been himself lately and is acting very reserved and is rarely seen in public. Classic signs of somebody under federal investigation. This case exposes systematic corruption networks that span multiple Bay Area cities. According to a Fair Political Practice Commission investigation, Andy Duong created a campaign contribution laundering scheme involving at least 93 fraudulent contributions to local campaign committees.
To an investigation by the Fair Political Practices Commission, which is a state oversight arm, Andy Duong was the true source of at least 93 contributions to multiple local campaign committees when he created a campaign contribution laundering scheme.
The scheme involved falsely using the names of intermediates or straw donors instead of disclosing California Waste Solutions as the true source. For example, Sang Tao received $9,900 that was allegedly laundered through 13 different people. Other politicians caught up in this scheme include Larry Reed at $5,600 through 8 entities, Dan Cobb $4,200 through 6 people, Rebecca Camplin $3,500 through 7 people, and a former councilman, Deasley Brooks, over $18,000 through 24 people. The Duongs also made contributions totaling more than $255,000 to 28 candidates across California, plus over $2 million to candidates and PACs across the country, including donations to Representative Eric Schwawell, Adam Shifty Schiff, and Barbara Lee. America, this San Leandro corruption case exposes a systematic way foreign criminal enterprises buy off American politicians. The Duong family used their legitimate waste management business as a front to run systematic bribery operations across multiple Bay Area cities. They funded lavish trips to Vietnam, entertained politicians with expensive whiskey and karaoke, and tried to cash in a $300,000 shipping container scam that would have ripped off taxpayers while pretending to actually help homelessness. Brian Azevedo is now facing 30 years in federal prison as his role in this particular scheme. The target letter gave him up until May 30th to cooperate with prosecutors, which means he's probably being pressured to flip on bigger targets. This case proves that corruption in the Bay Area isn't just about individual politicians taking bribes. It's about organized criminal enterprises systematically buying influence across multiple jurisdictions. The fact that this operation involved Vietnamese business associations, Vietnamese trade missions, and a container housing scam shows the international scope of the political corruption in California. When politicians start taking $6,400 as gifts for overseas trips and pushing emergency declarations to bypass competitive bidding, they're not serving the public, they're serving criminal organizations. I'll keep you updated as more Bay Area politicians get exposed in this corruption scandal. And remember, this is what happens when foreign criminal enterprises are allowed to buy off American politicians with lavish trips and expensive entertainment. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.